and he's good looking, and I'm sure a lot of girls go for him, but he's so serious, and bless him, he's such a virgin. Like, hello everyone, it's Luli, and today I'm going to be doing my first ever R18 otome game review on Chou no Doku Hana no Kusari. Now this is an unlocalized otome game, so only available in Japanese. However, I really wanted to tell you all about it because, oh my god, it was so juicy. But anyway, note that although I would not consider any of what I include in this video as spoilers, I'm aware that what you consider spoilers and what I consider spoilers may not quite align. So if you're even a little bit sensitive and you don't even want to know what's on the website, then I would swiftly move on. Also, if you like visual novels, if you like otome games, and if you just like fangirling over 2D guys, then you've come to the right place because I upload once, sometimes twice a week, and stream regularly. So if that's something you're interested in, then go ahead and click that subscribe and bell button, and you will not regret it. But anyway, let me start. So, first up, the plot. What is this game about? Basically, it's about this main character, Yuriko. She is born into this prestigious family. However, this is based in the Taisho period where, you know, these prestigious families refuse to work, but they're kind of getting through all of their family fortunes, but can't stop their frivolous spending. So they just keep on, you know, going down until they're close to bankruptcy almost, you could say. And it's about this girl who is, in this situation. She can see that it's all just going down and it's all depressing, and they're holding this birthday party for her because it's her coming of age, and you know, they're holding this magnificent, over-the-top, extremely expensive and extravagant birthday party. You know, we're talking like orchestra type of yeah, I know, it's crazy. That's the thing, and even she can tell that her family really can't afford this, but you know, because of that, it's also obvious that her family are holding this, you know, coming of age party to look for her fiance, so someone that she could potentially marry to help the family climb out of this terrible situation. Now, of course, it's really like, it's just not a nice situation for her because, you know, it's supposed to be her birthday party, but given her situation, there are these old rich guys that are, you know, there, that possibly may ask for her hand in marriage, but naturally, you know, the rich guys are going to be older, so it's just not a really nice situation. She wants to run away from it, but she is the daughter, and back in the olden days, you know, we didn't have any choice, so she has to go along with it. And then, of course, you know, you think things couldn't get worse, but they do. Her father gets murdered. I know. I'm not, like, the thing is, you can only, like, you're just so shocked because this all just happens, by the way. It's in the blurb already. And then it happens like so quickly in the story as well, you know? So you're just like, oh my god, did that actually happen? You're just beyond shocked. And yeah, so things just get worse and worse and worse. And this game is about the main character going through a series of terrible events. It is literally like watching a melodrama or something. In Japanese, we call it hirudora. It's like dramas that are shown during lunchtime and then tend to be like really, really like, ooh, that's terrible, that sort of thing. But yeah, so that's that. The, you know, love interests are people like, you know, the fiance, the gardener, of course the butler, because you've got to have a butler. And obviously you're gonna have the older brother because, you know, every messed up otome games has the older brother. Like, that's just classic. And then the childhood friend. But yeah, it is primarily about the main character under these unfortunate circumstances and how she either manages to escape from it or kind of end up being trapped in it, or, you know, bearing in mind there are a lot of bad endings, so you may want to use a walkthrough. Now, talking of the system, it took me about, I guess, 30 hours maybe. The first route took me about maybe like 7 hours, I would say. And then all the other routes, because you know you can skip through the common route, but took me about maybe 4 hours to complete. And there are 5 love interests. One of them you have to play after playing all the other love interests as well as common routes. You have to like basically get all the ends before you can play his route. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There are lots of bad endings, and we're not just talking about, you know, oh she died or oh he died. No, that's pretty tame. We're talking like bad endings where you think, dear God, how did this happen? Like, it's so messed up, or it's so terrible that you're gobsmacked. You're like, huh? You know? It's just crazy. Which is why after, like, I will in the future make another video like about this game, but including all the bad endings that left an impression in my mind. But yes, so, and some characters have more bad endings than others for some reason. And yeah, I don't know why. I don't mind it. I like bad endings, so it's all good for me. And yeah, note that the version I played is the PC version. That's why it's an R18 game. You can get the Switch version or the Vita version, but this is R17, so it doesn't have all the messed up crazy bits, which, you know, are the best parts. And a lot of the people and the reviews I've seen who have played both the Switch version and the PC version have said, you know, you should play the PC version because all the like really juicy bits are kind of cut out. So either you play that and then read up on what happened, or just play the PC version, because yeah, I mean, yeah, all the good parts are the really messy parts. And the thing is, R18 in the otome world doesn't necessarily mean that, it doesn't just mean that there's going to be, you know, like them doing it and all of that. It also means that some of the things that happen are so atrocious that someone below the age of 18 couldn't possibly take this. Like, that's kind of the sort of meaning behind R18 in this case. So yeah, bear that in mind. Oh, however, fortunately, the parts down there are like pixelated, so you don't have to see like icky bits. At least I don't like seeing that. To me, it's kind of like ew. So I was glad that it was like kinda, you know, pixelated. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm talking about this. But anyway. So, one last thing, the system and the menu and stuff is kind of old school, like the way the noises and stuff, it sounds very like 2000s, but the actual story, the gaming, the CGs, all of that is like just as you'd expect a normal otome game. Just like this menu and stuff does kind of come across as a bit old school, but it didn't bother me because, I don't know, it almost added to it because it's based in the Taisho period. It's supposed to feel a bit retro, and I don't know, I quite liked it. And as I said, the gameplay itself, the CG, all of that is beautiful, just as you'd expect. So yeah, definitely recommend. Now, moving on to the characters, as you know, my favourite part of these videos. So you had 5 love interests, and I'll add an honourable mention. So the very first character I played was Mizuhito, which is the the older brother of the main character, because, you know, as I said, in any messed up game you need the older brother. Like, how can you not have the older brother? So, and he actually was probably maybe not my favorite, but like maybe second favorite. He's this like really lazy character. I mean, as you'd expect, being the son of a prestigious old money family. He's a bit like lax, he's a bit lazy, he's a womanizer, he's walking around drinking and going to like the brothel and stuff, you know, he's that sort of character. But he's incredibly protective of Yuriko, you know, as you'd expect from an older brother. Like, he is so possessive in a way, almost. It's a bit worrying. And whenever, you know, the guy that's really gunning for her, which is also another love interest, but there is this guy that's gunning for her, you know, when he invites her out or there are these moments, he's like, Yuriko, I don't want you to go, and gets very funny over it. But he's a good character, especially if you go down his route. You see how serious he is about Yuriko and how much he loves her and cares for her, and honestly, like, seeing that really, you know, it was good. You could kind of forgive him for being a bit like wandering around, drinking, not really helping and all of that. And yeah, he was just, you know, think of like the sexy character, the one where you're like, okay, just by looking at you, my heart is yours type of thing, you know, one of those characters. And yeah, he was good. The second character I played was the childhood friend, Hideo. Oh, he was cute, bless him. He is a very classic childhood character. Oh, one more thing about Mizuhito, he had the most bad endings. Like, so many happened. I was like, wait, why does he only have so many? The others only have like one, maybe two, whereas him, it was like, got this bad ending, that bad ending. It was tragic. But anyway, I just thought I'd add that. Moving on to Hideo. Hideo is the childhood friend, a very classic trope. He and Yuriko used to play as kids, and there was a time when his parents wanted to, you know, get Hideo and Yuriko to be you know, like engaged, like from a young age type of thing. But Yuriko's parents, being this prestigious family, were like, ugh, your family isn't good enough, and ever since then things have been a little bit rocky, but he has really liked Yuriko right from the start, and you know, it's a very classic childhood trope. He's a tsunboy, very awkward around people, and he's good looking, and I'm sure a lot of girls go for him, but he's so serious, and bless him, he's such a virgin. Like, right from the start, you're like, oh my god, bless you, like, you know. But I think that adds to the charm, and I think some women out there like the kind of like virginal characters, so he kind of fit that, and it's kind of adorable how he has such pure feelings for Yuriko, like right from the start. I'm just like, oh my god, you're too cute. But yeah, and I think one of his bad endings was the one that left the deepest impression. Like, when it happened, it just hit me so hard. I was like, are you kidding me? What is this? It was so tragic but real at the same time. It was this really bittersweet, oh, it was just perfection. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to go into detail in this video, but I will in the future. But yeah, so childhood friend, very pure, tsunboy. He's in the army, and so, you know, he's very serious, and yeah, unfortunately in terms of marriage he isn't like the best option, so there are difficulties there. The third character played, and I didn't really like this one, is Fujita. So you'd think a butler would be a perfect, you know, dynamic, and don't get me wrong, I thought that as well, the whole butler princess situation, I love that. But the thing, oh my god, his scenes, like the doing it scenes, were like, I felt like I was gonna like throw up or something. I know that sounds really bad, but I was speechless when everything was happening. It almost put me off of the game entirely, because some of the things that happened, I mean, I'd already experienced some of the crazy things that happened in the other route, but his route, I was just like, question mark, question mark, question mark type of thing. I don't think it helps that he's quite a bit older than Yuriko as well, and so he kind of, I don't know, it just felt a little bit weird because he had known Yuriko from when she was like, you know, a child, so there's this like awkwardness, at least in my mind, there anyway. Don't get me wrong, when things are happening, they're of the right age or whatever, but it's still kind of, it feels odd in that way. He is very loyal to the family, like entirely, and I thought that was sweet, and don't get me wrong, he's a great character. It's just, you know, oh, and bearing in mind, I did kind of feel some sort of empathy with him because he's half white and half Japanese, I think. Or was he entirely white? I can't remember. But obviously he received a lot of prejudice due to his white side in Japan, especially back in those days. It was quite bad. And even I've experienced some prejudice due to my white side when I'm in Japan. So, you know, I kind of felt this almost empathy, shall we say. But yeah, it was very... it was the endings, honestly. Like, yeah, I'll go into more detail in the, you know, spoiler video, but yeah, so because of that, I felt very put off of his route, and he's probably my least favorite character. It's not the character, it's just everything that happened. It was just a bit too crazy for me. The fourth character I played is Shiba. Shiba is like this ore-sama character. He's the one that's like really gunning for the main character right from the start. So when she holds this birthday party, you know, she would be like dancing with this old man. I know, because they're all old. And the Shiba guy kind of like swoops her away from this old man and is like, no, she's going to marry me. And he's very forceful right from the bat. He's so confident. He's an ore-sama character. He's new money. He's earned a lot. He comes from like, you know, he really worked hard and, you know, is a big name now. But obviously because he's new money, people do still kind of almost look down on him, and that's why he kind of wants to marry Yuriko for her name, because, you know, then he'll get the old name almost, which adds to his it's a favorable situation. But Yuriko's really like, he doesn't like him because he's so forceful. Her parents are like for it, you know, they're like, oh yeah, he's got married, go for it. Well, the mum, because, you know, the father dies right at the beginning, but her mum is like really for it. But Yuriko, because he's so forceful and he's so like typical new money, she can't stand him, and the whole route is about him like trying to get with her and her like kind of running away from him. Don't get me wrong, I really liked him. He's probably, I'd say he was my favorite character, yeah. But there was one scene that happened that really affected me, and because of that scene I did have to take a break in the middle of it because it was a bit much for me. But overall I thought his character was the best. One of his bad endings, oh my god, honestly, like I had never been so speechless about an otome game ending in my life. I was just like and I told my friends, and like they were like, what, you know, that's crazy, and I'm like, I know, it's crazy. As you can tell, the endings for this game is superb. And yeah, no, he was good. He was I really enjoyed his route. Now the fifth character, and this character you kind of have to play like all the endings, because you have the common ending, which splits into like 2 different bits, and then you've got like the 4 love interests, and then you've got Majima, which is the gardener who you can only complete after all the other ends. And this is because you learn a lot in his route. Like, you learn pretty much everything in his route. And he is really sweet. He is, you know, kind. He is Yuriko's first love. She has known him for quite some time. What's weird though is that for some reason Fujita, I found it uncomfortable that he's way older than Yuriko, or felt that way anyway. I guess, and I was gonna say Majima was also old, but then I think he was a bit, like, he's a bit less older, if that makes sense. So instead of there being like a couple of decades apart, I can't remember Fujita's age, but in terms of behavior or whatever, I think Majima was only like a few years. And, you know, I really like him. Don't get me wrong, I really like him, but I don't know, I felt like because his route was relatively short compared to the others, I didn't have as much time to get to know him, and so I guess that's why the fan disc will be quite good, because I think you get to enjoy more of him in the fan disc. But yeah, you can sort of also tell that though Yuriko has feelings for him, I don't know if he can tell or whatever, but he is very much like this is a professional relationship, you're my, like, you know, you're of the family and I'm just a humble gardener type of thing. And, you know, watching it is quite like painful, especially, you know, because Yuriko likes him and shows affection for him almost right at the start, so you always think, oh, I hate that, because he's really cute as well. But yeah, his root does reveal pretty much everything. Now, one honorable mention is Kyoko-san, who is, this is interesting because, you know, otome games usually think of male love interest, but Kyoko-san is bisexual, and, you know, throughout all the other roots, everyone's like, oh, be careful of her, be careful of her, which makes you only like more and more curious about her. She doesn't quite have a root necessarily, but there are sort of scenes with her involved where Yuriko kind of ends up with her almost. But I really found it enjoyable that you had this root that was, you know, not of a male character but a female character, and an older female nonetheless, because Kyoko-san is actually Yuriko's mum's best friend, or like old friend or something. And it's interesting, the dynamic between her and Yuriko. Like, you would not expect how things turned out to be the way they did, and I think it was quite refreshing. And I mean, she's a bit, I don't know, she's very eccentric, let's put it that way. And yeah, when you go down sort of not her route, but like seeing bits of her in the common route, you're like, oh my god, you know. So yeah, I would say recommended order would probably be Hideo, the childhood friend, then maybe Fujita, then Mizuhito and Shiba probably, yeah, fourth, and then well, you can't do Majima, it's sort of like the common route, and then Kyoko-san, I think. I can't remember what the recommended route was, but that's kind of, to be honest, it doesn't really matter, as long as you basically do all the love interest routes and then the normal route and then Majima, I think that works perfectly fine. But you can look into it if you know, really like sticking to recommended routes and stuff. Now, who would I and would I not recommend this game to? I would recommend this game to someone like me who adores bad endings and tragedy and messed up stuff and older brothers or Oni-chan characters, because this game really is about the bad endings, you know. The good endings are good, don't get me wrong, it's like, oh, that's sweet and all of that, but the bad endings are just so in-depth. It's not just the jan, like let's just shrug it off kind of bad ending. They really put a lot of thought into some of them, and I think, oh my dear lord, don't get me wrong, some are a little bit forced, but the ones that really leave an impression, there are some really good ones in there. And so I highly recommend you play the PC version if you do decide to play this game, because, you know, honestly, I cannot stress harder how good the bad endings were. I would also recommend it to those who like, you know, naturally the erotic sort of content, because you see them in all sorts of positions, in all sorts of places. So if that's something you're into, I highly recommend it. I mean, some of the positions I was like, oh my. I don't think I've gone this like red in any of my other videos, but yeah, if that's something you're into, I would recommend this game. I would also recommend it to those who like the whole Taisho roman, so like, you know, the Taisho period aesthetic, the feel for that history, and also if you like kind of the games where it's like a melodrama, where you've got all this juicy stuff happening, where you're like, oh, you know, and definitely to those who, yeah, just want something that, you know, just makes you gasp, basically. So yeah, to sum it up quickly, if you're looking for a messed up game, if you want lots of like erotic, you know, content and stuff, and you want to enjoy the Taisho period and feel a bit depressed and like gasp and be like, oh my god, then this is a perfect game for you. However, I would not recommend this game to those who are highly sensitive about certain triggers, because honestly, like, think of any trigger warning and it will probably be in this game. That I'm pretty tolerant about things, but even I came across scenes where I was like, okay, that's a bit much for me. As I said, I had to take a break for some of the routes, and there was some routes where I just felt so like, it was just so grotesque. I thought, oh my god, you know? So I definitely don't recommend this if you're quite sensitive, or and definitely not if you're, you know, below 18 or you haven't seen any of this sort of stuff, because it you know, it does, yeah, it's got a lot of interesting situations and positions. Yeah, this is for 18-year-olds. If you're, you know, below that, don't go anywhere near this game. Even the Switch version, I probably wouldn't, because it's so crazy. Although I don't actually know what the Switch game version is like. But yeah. I would also not recommend it to those who are looking for, like, you know, happy, romantic, well, this has romance, but, you know, something that's like a rom-com, and something that's gonna make you laugh, something that is literally just happily ever after and everyone lives happily, like that sort of thing. If that's what you're looking for, avoid this game, because this is nothing like that. And I would also avoid if you're really not into, you know, like sexual content, if you really just that you can't stomach that and you just find it a bit weird, then I would probably also avoid this game, because it is an R18 game. It's towards the end of each of the routes, stuff happens and it's inevitable, you can't avoid it. So yeah, definitely avoid if you don't like sexual content, you are highly sensitive towards all sorts of different triggers. If you're looking for something happy, then yeah, just avoid this game like the plague. Now, overall thoughts and my rating, I would say I'm going to give this game a 4.9 out of 5. So the reason why it's not a 5 is because personally I thought they went a bit too far with some of the graphic scenes. I just thought, was that really necessary? Like, it was almost like they did it just to gross me out. I mean, who knows, maybe some people are into that sort of thing, but for me it was a bit too much. And as I said, I need to take a break in some of the routes, because I just thought, oh god, I can't deal with this. It's just so that's why I'm giving it a 4.9. In terms of story and the characters, I loved it so much. Honestly, I wish I could wipe my memories and play this game from the start again, because honestly, I know I keep on saying this, but some of the bad endings were just so bittersweet, so beautiful and poignant, and I just honestly, like, I can't explain how, or express even how much I enjoyed some of those bad endings. And yeah, it was really good. And so yeah, that's why this game gets a 4.9, which is pretty high if you ask me, and it's only not a 5 because of the grotesque scenes. So yeah, I don't know, I really like the old feel, and, you know, the somewhat accurate how they portrayed, you know, the situation where these prestigious families really did suffer and go down because of their weird way of thinking and that sort of thing, which of course happened in the West as well. And this is like the Japanese version of it, and yeah, they did a good job. You felt really sorry for the main character pretty much throughout every single route. You were like, oh, poor you, why were you not born in a normal situation? So yeah, I really appreciated that as well. Yeah, so I think that basically ends this video. I would say the question of today is, out of all the otome games you have played, which otome game would you want an R18 version of, and why? But yeah, that ends this. As is always the case, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully I'll see you in another one of my videos or streams. Bye!